Hello and welcome back to Helluva Podcast. I'm Alex.
And I'm Audie. The O is silent.
And today we're talking about oops.
Yeah. So let's just get right into some business real quick. This is part 2. Listen to part 1 first if you haven't already, or don't. We're not your parents. We can't tell you what to do.
I'd hope that most of our listeners' parents can't tell them what to do.
Yeah, but some of you are like 2 years old, and that's a bit concerning.
Yeah. 2 1s equals 2, because they're 11.
Yeah. No, just 2.
Just 2.
They're toddlers.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But yeah, listen to the other one. You might be confused if we start pulling out theories that we had from the other episode of No Context if you don't listen to the first one. But also you don't really need to.
Yeah.
The most recent episode released of Helluva Boss is Season 2, Episode 9, Apology Tour, and the most recent short is the third one, We A Boo Boo.
Yeah. Normal sentences.
Yeah, just so you know what we're pulling from.
Yeah. Although I don't think we'll be referencing We A Boo Boo.
We will not. We will not be doing that.
Yeah, also, thanks to Alex, all Helluva Podcast episodes are now available on YouTube, and they release at the same time as our episodes do on Spotify now, bi-weekly on Sundays at 12 Eastern time, usually.
Yep. Usually, unless
we fuck up.
Unless we fuck up and we're late, or the more likely culprit recently, Spotify for Podcaster. Oh, actually, it wouldn't matter on YouTube, but Spotify for Podcasters hated us for a little while.
Yeah. Yeah.
We couldn't upload an episode for a while, and then also they just took away our comments, but they're back now.
They're back. You can comment to your heart's content.
Yes. All right. You want to get into the episode?
Let's get right into it.
We're trying to go so fast today because there's so much to get through, and we do not want to do a part 3 on Oops.
Yeah, so this episode might be on the longer side, but that hopefully means that we won't have to return to this episode again.
Yes. All right, so just for reference from where we left off on the last episode, we're opening up to Blitz and Fizz in the cage after Strikers left them alone, so they're just up there alone. Yeah.
Yeah. Blitz says something about Fizz being, like, bad at escaping. Like, I mean, we say he doesn't ridicule him necessarily. I think there's a lot of tension in this entire exchange. Like,
there's tension, and there's definitely, like, but not ridicule, like, oh my god, you're horrible.
Yeah.
He's like, you're really bad at this. Just, like, so chill.
Yeah, it's almost like he's surprised by how bad he is. He's like, wow, you suck.
Yeah.
Not meant to be insulting, just stating a fact. But he does definitely enjoy Fizz being bad at something that he's good at.
Yeah.
Which is a common theme in this episode.
Yeah, I think that's, like, kind of the thesis statement of this episode. But also, yeah, he does seem kind of surprised, like, wow, Fizz can be bad at things, what the hell?
Yeah. And then Blitz waits until Fizz, like, verbally agrees, like, and accepts his help until, and then that's when Blitz reveals that he's had a knife this entire time, which is so petty.
Yeah, he's
such a bitch
he's
move.
the pettiest bitch ever, and I love it.
Yeah, and it really just shows, like, emphasizes, like, Blitz has been so unworried this whole time.
Yeah, he really just sitting pretty, being a hostage.
Yeah.
Like, straight chilling.
Yeah.
Also, the way that Blitz's knife slides out from his shoe, it's obviously not just on the bottom, because they probably would have taken that off of him.
Yeah.
And then it slides out from, like, the middle of 2 chunks of black.
Yeah.
So it's either in between his shoe, which is crazy and impressive, or it's, like, in between his foot and his shoe. Just because, like, his feet are black, too, you can't really tell.
Yeah.
But also that seems dangerous, so I think it would be inside the shoe.
I think it's in the shoe. Like, there's been a spot, like, carved out for it. For this exact situation.
Yeah, and he slides his foot and it just immediately comes out, but it's very much like a specific maneuver.
Yeah.
So he just has this, like, ready at any time.
Yeah. Blitz, the Undertale newsletter. Sorry.
Caught in 4K on the podcast.
I love Undertale. But Blitz goes to cut Fizz free with the knife, and Fizz flinches, screams.
Yeah.
Homie definitely does not have a trauma response involving weapons being close to him.
No,
definitely
not
not.
at all.
This
Why
isn't
would
something
he?
that will happen again later in this episode.
No, why would it?
Yeah. But, like, is it, like, just a trauma response, or does he genuinely think Blitz is gonna, like, stab him?
Yeah, I mean, okay, Blitz is really unpredictable.
Yeah.
So, like, fair enough, especially when they haven't seen each other in 15 years, and Fizz is being a little intense.
Yeah.
Not unjustified, to be clear, but, like, I could see him, but yeah, is it like a thought process going through his head, like, oh my god, he's gonna kill me right now, or is it like just a response because we see it later in the episode and he doesn't scream or anything.
Yeah.
But there's more factors to that we'll talk about.
Yeah. To be fair, from Fizz's perspective, like, Blitz has basically just gone, like, total bitchly, like, you want me to get you out, and then just pulls a knife out from his shoe. Like, to be fair, it's a very confusing situation.
And Fizz has probably never been held hostage, so this is already just crazy for him.
Yeah, unless you include the circus. Ayo!
Ayo! And then also there's little tape X's on Fizz's nipples.
Yeah, I saw you wrote this. I'm gonna pull it up real quick because this is news to me.
I think I noticed it, but it was one of those things that I was like, that's weird, and then moved on.
Yeah.
But I was going through the episode because it's been a while since we've rewatched.
Yeah.
And yeah, I was like, why the fuck? There's no reason for that.
Yeah.
And again, like, little gags like that on Fizz are a little bit problematic.
Hang on, I'm trying to find Burr's nipple tape. And, like,
it's when
can he lend me some?
It's when he's sitting in the cage. But it's not like nipple tape. It's just the normal tape that's on him in X's.
Yeah, I went too far. Here we go. There we go. There's the knife coming out. He fucking screams. Okay, also the way that Blitz raises the knife is so threatening.
He raises it, like, above his head.
Yeah. I would think he was gonna... Oh, he does have tape on his nipples.
Yeah.
That's so... Oh, is that left over from the tape that was around him?
Maybe, but, like, it's very much X's.
Yeah. That's such an odd choice. I guess it's probably just meant to be, like, a funny accident that they, like... I don't know.
Yeah, like a gag.
Yeah.
But it was just interesting to me. Why is it there?
Did Blitz throw the knife? He did. He threw the knife, I guess, to Fizz to like, break the tape on his legs. But I think there's an animation error or something in the knife.
No, I don't think Fizz takes it. Keep playing.
No, but, like, look at the knife itself. Isn't that not what it looks like?
No, the same shape, yeah.
But there's no handle on it.
I don't think there... Is there a handle? Also, there being a handle on it would be crazy if it's in his shoe.
That's true. Yeah, okay, I'm just crazy.
There's no handle.
Anyway.
Also, I don't know if it's a knife or it's just a straight-up piece of metal is the thing.
Yeah, no, that's true. I guess I just assumed there would be a handle because it's a knife, but...
Yeah, no.
Yeah. Anyway.
So, after this, Blitz is like, alright, he says, let me work this.
Yeah.
Or quit whining while I work this, which... Yeah. I don't know why, I just thought that was a really cool line.
Yeah.
And then he looks at the scene for, like, 2 fucking seconds and thinks of this extremely elaborate plan with a shit ton of multiple moving parts that all have to go correctly for it to work.
Yeah.
And it works.
Yeah.
And it's just the way that he just, like, okay, got it. Like...
Yeah. It's giving the energy of, like, in a heist movie when, like, the leader is like, Bernard, you hack into the mainframe. Angelica, you go steal this. Like, like, it seems like he did all of that in his own brain.
Yeah, he did all in his own brain and the interesting thing about it is it's based off of other people's reaction.
Yeah.
Like, it's a bunch of people that he barely... Well, I guess he might know these people really well from X's and O's.
Yeah.
But because what happens is something hits... someone and then they shoot and then people fall and then hit other things. So it's like he has to scope out all these people's different reactions in order for everything to fall into place. Which, one, obviously is really resourceful and goes into the theory that we have of Blitz being really resourceful, but also is a specific kind of resourcefulness that's, like, relating to how people react.
No, it's also more of just, like, a, I guess, like, I just had the word, but... Yeah, what you said. Understanding how people work. I had a word for it, and I lost it.
I think it really goes back to, like, Blitz in childhood, probably, like, watching people and, like, wagering how they're going to react. You know, abusive dad kind of shit.
Yeah.
Where he's able to be like, yeah, this person's going to, like, shoot everyone, and, you know, like... which, I don't know.
Just like Dad used to do.
Just like Dad used to do.
Yeah. No, it's really interesting. He even pulls out popcorn to watch as the scene unfolds.
Which this is the second time he's just had popcorn on his body.
Yeah.
So I think he just always does.
Yeah. But yeah, it's like another like talent of his that's like outside of, you know, the circus skills, and even outside of like the murdering and hitman skills. Like it's very much like a fundamental skill at like analyzing people and his surroundings.
Yeah.
That is like he should put that on his resume. That's very transferable.
Yeah, it is very transferable. Also, like, it's giving survival skill in D&D.
Yeah.
He would have a high survival modifier.
Yeah. But yeah, it very much gives the impression that he's, like, taking this opportunity to show off to Fizz. Because then, like, Fizz offers to, like, reach down and press this button.
Yeah.
And Blitz is just like, no, I've got a better idea. Like, I think, like, he obviously knew enough to know that his plan would work, or would probably work, and he didn't just pull it out of his ass, but he's also very much taking the chance to show off.
Yeah, and it's also interesting, too, how Fizz does immediately jump to that, like, because Blitz says, like, you see that remote down there, and then Fizz is like, I guess I could do this, like, immediately thinks that he's trying to get him to do something, which I think is really showing of his character. It's a little tiny thing, but, like, he's immediately like, oh, you want me to do this? Yeah. Like, without Blitz actually being like, hey, can you press that button?
It's like, guy who's been asked to do things for other people for his entire life.
Yeah.
Energy, yeah. And, like, it is a reasonable thing to think.
Yeah.
You know, he's the guy with the robot arms, but
yeah,
also,
but the jump is so quick.
Yeah.
Yeah. Like, it's totally reasonable, and it is easy to go over your head. I didn't realize it until now, like, when I rewatched. But, yeah, it's like, oh.
Yeah.
That is not how a normal person would react to being like, hey, do you see that thing?
Crimson gets a cucumber facial.
Yeah, he's got cucumbers on his eyes.
That's maybe the most important note in this entire document, this entire 5-page document.
Yeah.
Yeah, and then one of my favorite lines is, what the fuck, Fizz? How is someone this flexible, this useless in combat? Really comes for his ass this episode in a lot of ways.
They both do, and it really shows, like they're not brotherly.
Not brotherly.
Homoerotic.
Cousinly.
Yeah.
How'd you go from not brotherly to cousinly?
Well, because I was... No, thing? It is. They unfortunately have a familial twinge.
No. I think it's definitely a more complicated situation of familial, but also homoerotic.
I guess they're not brotherly, but they fight like brothers is what I'm trying to go for.
They fight like people who have known each other for a large portion of their formative years.
Yeah. Childhood best friends to lovers.
Yeah. I think controversial take. I think a little familial twinge in a homoerotic relationship is one of the best kinds.
Yeah, as long as it's not blood.
Yeah.
But I agree. I think especially because the best, like, homoeroticism stuff is all found family. Mm-hmm. And and, like, they're not found family, they're kind of forced family. But, like, in their adult years, they can be found family. Yeah. You know? So.
Yeah. But Fizz, very bad at fighting, very bad at getting out of trouble, which are things that Blitz is the best at.
Yeah.
So, opposites attract. But, like, they each have their own strengths, and those strengths kind of both come into play in this episode. Like, Blitz is sort of, like, the focus for a lot of it, but then, Fizz gets to sing a fucking song at the end of the form, and it's fucking insane that works, but, they both get to showcase their skills, and, like, it's nice because, Blitz grew up feeling inferior his whole life, but then we also find out this episode that Fizz looked up to him, so, like, I think it's really interesting to also, like, show their contrasting skills working together in this scene.
I think it's really interesting, and something that this episode does really well is, like, neither of them can fix the situation on their own. Mm-hmm. Like, Fizz would be fucking dead if he was there alone.
Oh, absolutely.
And then Blitz also can't get that final thing done and get them out without that distraction.
Yeah.
So it's like, both of these sets of talents are important, and it's like, they could have been like, okay, Blitz felt really inferior his entire childhood, and now he's going to be the superior one, but it's not. Mm-hmm. Which I really respect.
Yeah. And there's also sort of this idea of, like, you can't force talent or certain skills on certain people. Like, they both grew up in the circus environment, but Fizz ended up having more of a proclivity for performance art. And then also, in that circus, Blitz was, like, Fizz's protector, possibly like his mom's protector, which we'll get into later also. And so that's where he's picked up a lot of the skills that he uses today. Yeah. And so it's like they both grew up in that same environment, but they both took to different things and learned different things.
Yeah, and I think that happens a lot, especially in performance industries. And since we're on a Crush for Time, I won't go on that rant.
Yeah.
But Yeah, I think it is. I think I lost my train of thought. Probably wasn't important.
That's your train of thought leaving the station.
Fuck.
Yeah, sorry, man. It's all the way in New York City by now.
We're in fucking Vermont.
Yeah, it was only
that
like
train,
3 hours.
That train moves fast.
Yeah.
Okay. Anyway, quote: "You always cared what I thought. I looked up to you."
Yeah.
Etc. Etc.
Yeah. Are those both Fizz, or is that?
Oh yeah.
No. I forgot.
First one is Blitz. You always cared what I thought, and then Fizz says, "I looked up to you." So
are we sure?
Yeah.
Okay.
I checked him.
Okay. Sorry.
No, you're good.
Are you sure? I'm hearing it in Fizz's voice, both of them. I'll
yeah, I mean, you can double check if you want. But no, I wrote these notes this morning, so I'm fairly certain.
Okay.
Just for the listeners to know.
Yeah. No, you keep talking.
But yeah, you always cared what I thought. And I looked up to you. Fizz got all of this validation from Cash and everyone else. But he still needed it from Blitz, and like he still craved all that validation, which is really interesting. Like his need for validation, which he still has and is still very prominent, started really young, and he could get praise and validation from adults, but he still needed it from Blitz. And like if Blitz didn't think he was good, Fizz probably wouldn't think he was good. Yeah. Or like if one I think the like thing is like if one person was like, hey, you need to do better, he would be like, I fucking suck, I should stop forever. Yeah. Like that kind of mindset.
Yeah, totally.
And the fact that it started when he was like 5?
Yeah.
Is crazy.
You were right, by the way. I didn't mean to doubt you. I doubted myself.
Yeah, sorry to be like, yeah, no, I'm 100% sure, but I was 100% sure.
Yeah, Circus Fire? Is that the next? Were you finished with the point above?
Yes,
okay.
Yeah.
I tuned out rewatching the episode clip. Yeah, it's really interesting to get to, like, visibly see their different perspectives on the fire, because, like, yeah, Fizz sees Blitz go behind the curtain, and then the fire appears.
Yeah, like, of course he thought he did it.
Yeah, and then, like, you know, they didn't get to talk to each other after it, which we'll also get into, but, like, of course he fucking thinks he did it. And then the, like, overlap of, like, arguing with the memories happening, like, at the same time. It's really fucking cool. I really fucking like this episode. Yeah,
I think this episode as a whole is one of the strongest written and animated episodes that they have. Well, I wouldn't say, like, the prettiest animated, because, like, Seeing Stars? No. Fucking... The one where they have the whole scene and You'll Be Okay.
Oh.
I like that animation sequence. Like, it's not crazy and pretty by any means, but the way that they use animation to tell the story is really strong.
Yeah, and I do like the colors as well.
Yeah, I do as well.
Like, it's not like in Truth Seekers where it's a very bland palette. Yeah. Like, there's a very distinct palette here that is good. Yeah. Yeah, I have a lot of... So, like, Blitz, like, apologizes in this episode, right? Like, he, like, sets the record straight. He's like, I didn't mean to start the fire. It was an accident. But then, like, he still is kind of, like, treated at fault. And, like, he is, you know. Yeah. But also, he shoved someone with a cake. I don't think he even realized the person had a cake. It's such, like...
But the thing is, he doesn't say that to Fizz. We see that in the flashback, but he doesn't say it.
That's true.
So Fizz doesn't... Like, Fizz is like, okay, yeah, maybe it wasn't your fault, but he doesn't know to the degree of, like, the how small the thing he did was.
Yeah. That's true. Yeah.
And I think also that comes down to the fact, like, if Blitz had a little more security and confidence in himself, he probably would have told Fizz that.
Yeah.
But he still thinks it's his fault.
Yeah.
And so he's not gonna, like, really, really try to justify it. He's gonna a little bit, like he did in the episode, and then he's gonna be like, yeah, but it was still my fault.
Yeah.
And that's... I don't know if we're here yet, actually. Keep talking.
I just... Especially because it's not just Fizz's whole, you know, injury, disability. Like, it's not only Fizz that he's blaming himself for, it's also his mom, and it's also Barbie, to whatever, we don't really know, but to some degree. The circus as a whole, the horses, like, so...
I do like that the first thing, after he, like, stomps away, which, by the way, I noticed this rewatch that he's got little tears in his eyes when he stomps away. is the horses
Yeah.
on fire, which
Yeah.
is so sad. He loved his horses so much.
Yeah. We're getting a little bit ahead of ourselves, though, so
sorry.
No, you're good at me also. Also, Blitz's father gives Fizz a card that literally says, "Wish you were my son."
Yeah, fucking crazy.
Which is fucking crazy. Yeah, I want to study, like, the Blitz and Fizz childhood dynamic under a microscope.
Yeah, me too.
It's not just, like, isolated incidents like this. Like, it's very much like this was their entire childhood friendship. But also they still remained best friends. Like, obviously there were complicated feelings there, but best friends.
I would also, actual meta content-wise, I would love to get a short that's just them as kids.
Yes.
Or even teenagers, but I would prefer kids.
Yeah. I would love, the circus-style episode, but instead of focusing on Blitz and Stolas, because that's, Blitz and Stolas' first meeting, and then, them 25 years later, and then them now. I would love something like that, but with Blitz and Fizz as kids.
I also would.
When they first meet, and then, their early childhood years, teen years, and then that's it.
Yeah. But I would also take something fun, like a circus episode where is it a short where it is there a circus act, but we get to learn more about the dynamic and the backstage and the stuff.
Yeah.
I don't know. I just feel like I would like more of them isolated, kind of like how they are at the start of the circus.
Yeah.
I want a lot of that.
Yeah.
But yeah, I was going somewhere with that. But I don't remember.
Yeah. I think they are my favorite dynamic in the show.
I think so too.
They're so fun. I love Fizz. Yeah, and then who says this next line, that I thought you were my best friend? That's Fizz, right? Because he's being like, you tried to kill me, bitch. I thought you were my best friend. Obviously they were very close, we know that, but,
it's
that
just
was
another
on
piece
both sides.
of elephants, elephants.
Another piece of elephants.
Evidence.
You said another piece of elephants.
No, for context, I still had my mouth halfway on my water bottle when I started talking.
Another piece of elephants. Next time I'm writing an essay, I think evidence is just permanently elephants for me now.
If you ever write a Camille, I'm not going to say their government names actually. I was going to give full names of our professors because that's how we talk about them.
Yeah.
But next time you're writing one of a teacher I've had, you should quote me.
Yeah, I will. Yeah.
Anyway.
Yeah, and then interestingly, the fire itself isn't what hurts Fizz and Blitz. Very much indirectly it is.
And when we say the fire, we don't mean the event, we mean the physical fire.
It sets off fireworks.
Yeah, or dynamite, but I think it's fireworks.
I believe it is, yeah. And they hit Fizz. Did they hit Blitz also? It's the one that hits his eye, is that what it is?
Yeah, so, Fizz, in the frenzy of everyone running from the fire, gets knocked down. He tries to crawl out, lifts up a curtain, there's a box of fireworks, and on the box, it's supposed to say Fizzorales, but it says Fizzorarikis or something. I don't know if it's in Blitz's or Cash's handwriting. It's a little different than Blitz's, so I think it's maybe meant to be a family member, and it's fucking horribly spelled. But yeah. So for Fizz's birthday, because that's what they're celebrating before this, so that, raises the question of which birthday? Yeah, it seems like a really big birthday, so that's why, and we when we did the timeline, we put Blitz about 17, so I'm wondering if this is an 18th birthday, if they're the same age.
Yeah, I think, if not 18, then 16.
Yeah.
Because they're definitely not older than 18 here. Yeah. 16 I could also see as being a big one.
Yeah, I wouldn't say younger, 14 would be the absolute youngest, I would say.
Yeah, and I don't think even that.
I don't think even that. So that's why I'm saying, not younger than 16 either.
Yeah, 16, 17, 18.
It is also possible that they just give Fizz this birthday every year. I feel like that's worth noting because everyone loves him.
Maybe this is just a random Tuesday.
Yeah. But if it is 18, hey, adulthood.
Yeah. Welcome, buddy. This is what it's going to be like.
Yeah. But the fact that it's not the fire, it's the fireworks that were meant to celebrate Fizz, that, you know, takes all of his limbs, scars his whole body,
Yeah.
and then also hits Blitz in the eye.
Mm-hmm.
Like, it's the same source.
Yeah.
Is really interesting to me.
No, on that note, I was just gonna say, like, on a metaphorical level, the fact that, like, it's, like, the reason that the fire starts is because of this cake that's meant to celebrate Fizz. It's sort of, like, all of the, like, you know, the superiority, like, the pedestal that everyone's put Fizz on, and the impact that that's had on Blitz. It's sort of like it all culminated into this very literal, physical, explosive moment.
It all comes crashing down.
And that's really a really cool thing.
Yeah.
I think.
I was going to say writing choice because, you know, someone had to come up with that idea, but I guess it's also technically, it would be more of an animation choice.
I feel like it would more fall under writing.
Yeah. I always never know what to call it because, like, it is entirely in the animation, but someone thought of it and wrote it down, you know?
It's not just like it's not a choice that was chosen by the animators,
right.
You know?
Yeah.
For, like, visual gags and stuff, that's different.
Yeah.
But, yeah. Anyway, our Blitz cry count for the entire show, not for this episode, for the entire show, has reached a whopping 3.
I didn't fact check that, and that wasn't in the notes. I noticed that he was crying, and I was like, how many times has this guy cried? And I do think it's only 3.
Because there's End of Ozzy's.
Yeah.
What's the other one?
Queen Bee.
Queen Bee. Oh, right.
Which is technically...
So, 2 on the same night.
Yes, they're on the same night. But technically 2 different episodes, that's why I had to count it as 2.
Yeah, that makes sense.
And now we have 4 because of Apology Tour.
Yes.
But that wasn't there yet. Yeah. I just thought it would be funny if we keep a Blitz cry count because
no.
I want to know if it reaches like 10 by the end of the show because I don't know if it will.
Shocked by the end of the show. Not even end of season 2. By the end of the show.
No, that's why I'm giving it a little bit because maybe in season 4 he gets emotionally healthy. Yeah. Like, we don't know.
Yeah. We should keep track of that. We should maybe like after like once season 2 ends, we should like make an Instagram post with like our tally so far of Blitz cry counts, and then we can keep count from there.
Yeah, that's good.
Yeah.
Also, we're going with 3 right now. If you guys know of an incident other than Queen Bee or Ozzy's or Oops that he cried, let us know. We'll make it more accurate.
Yeah. We want to be very accurate in our cry count. In fact, we should even count the number of specific tears.
Oh, yeah. Anyway.
There is... No, that's... I was going to say in Ozzy's when they're in the car, he, like, wipes a tear away, but I don't think that counts. Especially because he ends up actually crying at the end of that episode.
And also, I think it's... Would it be per episode or per event? Because that cry is definitely, like, all from one event. But, like, what if there was 2 events and he cried in both?
Yeah.
I don't know. We'll figure out the specifics later on.
A tentative 3.
Tentative 3.
Yeah.
Fizz is so fucking shocked by Blitz. And I guess when you, like, get your limbs blown off by your childhood best friend, and then he doesn't talk to you for 15 years, and then he confesses that it wasn't his fault, and he genuinely is really sorry and blames himself for it, you know, I would be a little shocked too. But Fizz is, like, jaw dropped, looking. I think he's meant to be looking around at like the crime and the action around him, but he literally is going. Yeah, like he's like who said that? Yeah, he kind of looks.
And it's like similar energy to earlier on, like we were saying, how Blitz is like, "Wow, you're really bad at this." Like they're both genuinely surprised by the other's shortcomings.
Goes, what?
Yeah.
Well, not even shortcomings. He's like, "You are sorry."
Yeah.
Like,
yeah. Blitz admits it was his fault, even though it was an accident.
Yeah. Well, that happens first. He says, it was an accident, okay? I was trying to get help.
Yeah.
Very important line.
Yeah.
And then, but it was still my fault.
Yeah. He apologizes very plainly.
Yeah.
Like he's like...
He says, I'm so sorry you got so hurt.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. And he's not, like, trying to, like he's you know, he prefaces it with, like, it was an accident, but he's not trying to, like, defend himself.
Yeah,
he's, like, just stating everything he knows to be true.
So different from his character and how he handles other situations.
Yeah, even in fucking Apology Tour, when he's saying to Stoll is, like, I can apologize. I sorried Fizz so hard he cried.
Which isn't... No, that is here.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, and then understands why Fizz hates him, and he's not trying to, like, pressure Fizz into not hating him. He's like, I'm sorry you got hurt, it was my fault. And then says, like, starts to say, no, he says, I would hate me too, and then starts to say, actually, I do, and then they get cut off.
Yeah.
But,
so does hate himself, to be clear. And then, also, it makes me wonder, does he hate himself, like, for cumulative stuff, or is it just... It's definitely cumulative stuff. But is he claiming that he hates himself just for this, or is he claiming the cumulative stuff?
Right.
But, yeah, this, I think, is the most emotional maturity we've ever seen from Blitz, and it's all in 5 seconds.
Yeah.
So, so that's something. And then also the fact that he respects and cares about and loves Fizz enough to be this emotionally mature.
Yeah.
And to be like, yes, it is my fault. You do not have to care about me. And, like, he's worked through that, I'm sure, from not being able to see him. And, like, you know, having... like, but he didn't have to do that. And also, like, I don't know. I feel like this shows a very intimate part of care.
And imagine how he feels now, like, after this episode, like, where he's saying, like, he finally gets to apologize to Fizz and, like, comes to terms with the fact that Fizz probably isn't gonna want to see him, but at least he gets closure. But now they're, like, friends again. Like, imagine how that must feel. That must be so, like, bittersweet and heartwarming.
Yeah. Blitz having a win for once, honestly.
Really, yeah.
And then, as we were saying before, in Blitz's memory, the first thing that is noticed in pain before himself and before Fizz is the horses.
Yeah, the horses.
Which is
it's so sweet.
Yeah. It's like a really tiny detail, but it's so much character depth and, like, world building, and, like, really puts apart the two memories, because, like, Fizz's memory is Blitz and then the fire and then being pushed over. And, like, the big thing that in his memory is the dynamite or the fireworks. But then, like, the first thing in Blitz's is the horses, and the big thing is, like, running away from Fizz, like, watching and then running away.
Yeah. I wanted to see Blitz with his horses as a kid.
Yeah.
I want to see him.
Because we saw him kicking his little feet at Striker's horse.
Striker's horse, yeah. Get Homeboy a horse. It would fix all of his problems.
It would. Luna comes home one day with a little pony.
Yeah, and then does this picture come before the other stuff, after it?
After, it's on the line of, you have no idea what I lost in that fire.
Yeah. I mean, in the notes, though, like, the stuff about him looking for his mom, isn't the picture at the end of that sequence?
Yes, the picture is at the end of the sequence.
Yeah, so then, Blitz is, like, trying to save his mom in the fire, and he does mouth the word mom, like, at a specific, like, that was the thing people were just, like, theorizing about at first, and then, like, one of the animators or storyboarders confirmed it, like...
Yeah, it's when he's looking at Fizz, and he just... No? When is it?
We don't see him look at Fizz, ever. Do we?
Yeah, well, I don't know if he looks at Fizz, but he, the scene where he's covering his eye, Fizz is on the ground.
Oh, yeah, I don't think Blitz sees Fizz.
Oh, okay.
Fizz sees Blitz, but when we see Blitz's perspective, he doesn't seem to see Fizz.
Okay.
And he, like, looks in the direction of, like, another tent or something, and then he
runs.
He says mom and runs towards it. And then we get this image of, like, this photograph of Blitz, Barbie, and their mom, and the photo, like, burns down the middle, like, where the mom is.
Yeah.
Which is really fucking cool.
Good writing / animation again.
Yeah. But yeah, this also lends to the theory of Blitz's mom maybe being sick or needing some sort of caretaking. Like, if, like, again, we don't know that we don't know if he does or doesn't see Fizz, but, like, if he is making this conscious choice to choose between them, or even the subconscious choice, like, he assumes that his mom needs his help more, you know, partly maybe because she's, like, incapacitated in some way, but also, like, he thinks Fizz will have other people save him.
Yeah, especially he just saw Fizz have a ton of fanfare and a bunch of people were just around him, so he's probably like, oh yeah, Fizz is fine.
Yeah.
Also, he probably assumes that Fizz is, like, you know, if he doesn't see him, is assuming that he's gotten right out of there.
Yeah.
Because, you know, at this point, able-bodied, very agile person.
Yeah.
Also, the thing the caretaking with his mom, I do wonder if maybe, because we obviously see Cash as a horrible fucking dad, I do wonder if he might be more abusive to their mom, and that is also, that's why.
Yeah.
Yeah, I want to know more about his mom.
Yeah. Yeah. And then, morbid question, but did Blitz find his mom, I mean, did he find her at all? Did he find her dead?
Yeah.
Did, and then how did he get her necklace?
Yeah.
I don't know, I want to know the moment of if and when he found her, and if that's not when he got the necklace, then when did he?
Yeah.
Did someone give it to him? Did he just take it?
Yeah, did he take it out of her stuff or on her person?
Yeah.
Dead?
Yeah.
Or was it a thing where, like, you know, the scene was surveilled, they had to identify a body, maybe he was the only one there, maybe he was the only, maybe he took all of her stuff, you know how they put it in, like, bags and stuff. But that would be interesting because we see, this is jumping ahead a little, but we see Cash in the hospital later. So he was definitely part of everything. I don't know if he would have been there to identify his mom, but then if Barbie had anything to do with it, I don't think she would have given Blitz the necklace because she fucking hates him.
Yeah.
So it's like, why did he? I feel like some very specific circumstance would have had to happen for him to get it.
Yeah, I was looking just now to double check that he doesn't already have the necklace in the fire, because I also just thought maybe, like, beforehand his mom, like, passed it down to him.
Well, that's another thing, too. I was thinking, like, wills and stuff. Maybe she left it to him, but there would be no will here. It would have gotten burned.
Yeah, yeah. Unless she had, like, a lawyer who had it, but then we're getting
and also, I don't think she would. Just logistically, I don't think that would be true.
Yeah. Anyways, he says, "You were all I had left, Fizz," which is such a fucking fucked up line.
You were all I had left, Fizz, but, and then he says, "I tried."
Yeah.
And they said, "You didn't want to see me."
Yeah. And so in the last episode of this podcast, we were speculating on, like, who was keeping Blitz from seeing Fizz, and we said maybe, like, Ozzy, like, was just being overprotective.
Yeah,
but
maybe Mammon as well was another option.
But a fan named Alejandra pointed out to us was this on Spotify for podcasters?
Yeah, this is in the comments.
Yeah, they pointed out that there's a clip in the season 2 trailer where it's Cash Buxo, so Blitz's dad, like, presumably blocking Blitz.
He is blocking somebody, so it's presumably Blitz.
Yeah, I think this. I think I know the sequence they're talking about, and I think it is, like, Blitz's memories.
Yeah.
So it most likely Blitz, I would say. For
I
sure.
just said presumably in parentheses because we don't actually see Blitz in the clip.
Yeah.
But yeah, blocking, and then the other, because it's like split. We see his body very close to the screen, and then in the background we see his recovering in the hospital room.
Yeah. So it would be Blitz's dad who, like, lied and prevented Blitz from seeing Fizz, which we don't know why exactly, but I think it makes sense, like, with him literally, like, taking Fizz in more as his own child and rejecting Blitz as his son. So if he's, like, you know, being protective of one over the other, especially if he also blames Blitz.
Yeah, which he definitely does, because he blames Blitz for everything when he's, like, 10.
Yeah, and he's also probably, like, you know, like, Fizz saw Blitz disappear behind a curtain and then this fire start. So, like, he already thinks it's Blitz, but then surely Cash Buxo is also putting that idea into his head. Like, yeah, Blitz started the fire and he doesn't want to see you anyway. So, you know, and it's so fucked up.
I think, too, it could be a thing where, like, Cash is like, did you see anything? And Fizz is like, you know, I saw this. And then Cash is like, oh my god.
Yeah.
It was Blitz, and tells everybody that it was Blitz.
Yeah.
And,
also,
you know.
Also, the fact that Cash Buxo survived the fire, where is he now? I really want to know. Especially if he, like, this gives me the impression that he, like, this is the moment where he, like, fully rejects Blitz from his life, and maybe, like, consequently took Fizz under his wing, so to speak, like, even more than he already did. So, like, was he still in Fizz's life at all? Is he still in, you know?
Yeah.
Like, I want to know.
I mean, Cash gives me the vibe of he doesn't stick around for something for long, so if he just once Fizz took off, stopped being in his life. And also, if Fizz had to make a, like, you don't control me, Memon essentially owns me now, Cash would be like, okay, fuck you.
Yeah.
You know, like...
Yeah.
But I also wonder, though, what Cash's relationship with Barbie is.
Yeah.
Because does he hate her? And, like, we never see any of that. No. I want more on Barbie, which might not happen because she's a woman, with the show's history. And I just want more on their childhood, all three of them.
Yeah. Yeah, they're a very fun dynamic, the three of them.
And I want to know more about how Barbie fits in there.
Yeah. Yeah, and then also was Blitz, presumably Blitz would also be a patient in the hospital, like, he got badly injured.
Yeah.
He's also, like, not as badly as Fizz, but we see his scars all over him. His eye got hurt.
And I don't know where this is, it might be in the trailer. I think we have at one point seen, like, bandaging on his face.
Yeah. So, like, how soon after the fire was he trying to go see Fizz? Was he still, like, actively recovering and he's, like, desperate to see Fizz? I would think so.
I would think so, too.
And that makes it even sadder that he's, like, turned away.
I think, too, like, if a nurse was, like, you know, like, was it a situation where, like, he got all bandaged up and then he was like, where's Fizz?
Yeah.
And they were like, oh, he's in this room.
Yeah.
Or, like, even, what if it was a situation where, like, one of them came in and was like, hey, just so you know, someone from that fire is really banged up.
Yeah.
And he was like, what?
Yeah, like, if they're, like, you know, like, you, Blitz, you're also hurt, so normally we wouldn't do this because you need to recover, but just so you know, a friend of yours might not make it.
Yeah,
like, it could even be something like that. Yeah.
And then he didn't let him say, fuck. Yeah, I want more on that whole situation.
Yeah.
On a later note, when they're having this conversation, Fizz picks Blitz up by the legs and just starts
whipping him around, which Millie also does with Blitz.
Yeah,
in,
he's a weapon.
X's Nose. Yeah, Blitz is a weapon. Not an academic weapon, maybe.
No, definitely not.
And then there's the other iconic, incredible line, and, you know, fuck you still, from Fizz. Yeah. Which is so... I mean, Alex Brightman as Fizz, in anything. He's a fucking phenomenal voice actor.
Yeah, a lot of people at first did not like the fact that Alex Brightman was Fizz. I don't know what that opinion is now that he's, like, more of a character, but this is, like, when he was just in Aussies.
Yeah.
I think he's so good.
He's fantastic, yeah. Yeah. I love his delivery, and especially on that line. He's so good.
His delivery all the time is good.
Yeah.
But the line, it's not like I'm broken.
Yeah. Great line.
Great line. This is, like, a step down from being, like, really fucking, not perfect, but, like, way up there disability rap. I really love the message of, like, you know, being disabled doesn't mean you're broken, even if you were once able-bodied, because that's typically, like, when you become disabled, you are a broken person, and, like, you can't do anything that you used to, and things like that. Yeah. Of course, like, that is a stereotype and, like, hurtful thing of people who are born disabled as well, but, yeah, so, but I just think, like, great, perfect. I love that line. I love that it's, like, genuinely, like, part of his character. The thing I don't love about it is how, like, they say that and then immediately go into his relationship with Ozzy, and ultimately that's what Fizz is like, I'm happy for you, is, like, that relationship and that dynamic in his job, as opposed to, like, what he's actually done.
Yeah.
But since that's addressed in later episodes, how he's actually, I think it's in the next one, how he's actually, you know, like, the one responsible for his success, like, he's put in the work and stuff, I do think it's good.
Yeah, and I think also it's like, this might be giving the show more credit than it deserves, but I think, like, depending where Fizz and Ozzy's relationship goes, because, like, you know, we've very much seen an overprotective side of Ozzy, which we'll get into more at the end of this. Yeah. There's, like, a specific scene, but, like, I think, like, you know, going from, like, it's not like I'm broken to then talking about, like, his relationship with Ozzy, it kind of has this impression of, like, you know, I'm not broken and also have this person who's taking care of me. But I think, like, that could also be, like, a little hint at, like, the not so great aspects of their relationship. Yeah. And it could be, like, building to that. Yeah. So it could be a very intentional choice. I don't want to give the show too much credit, but it could be.
No, it could be, and also it has so much potential to be.
Yes.
Which is great. And I think, too, that's another thing that they did. We're always saying, like, this is a great start, and then they never fucking follow through on it, or they follow through in the absolute worst way. Yeah. I think this specific part where in this episode he's like, I'm not broken, but then it goes into, like, the relationship thing, mushing those together, But then in the following episode, saying, like, going into Fizz's mind and being like, you know, this is why they're mushed together.
Yeah.
Because, like, now that we've seen Mammon's, that whole episode, the long title one, we know that, like, it would have kind of been out of character for him to not immediately mention Ozzy, because he, in his train of thought, thinks that is why he's successful. But yeah, so I think this is a really good setup, and then follow through in a later episode, and they could need to do more like this. Yeah. Because, like, if they set things up, like they do sometimes, they set things up really well, and then knock them down like this. Yeah. That would be just great. Like, that is what we're saying.
I think it's also, sort of going into the next point, of, like, when Blitz and Fizz get cornered, Blitz, like, steps in front of him and, like, ushers him backward and protects him. I think the whole dynamic of Blitz protecting Fizz is done really well. Like, the fact that it's also their dynamic when they're kids before Fizz becomes disabled. So it's not like Blitz is, like, protecting his disabled friend. It's not, like, weird like that. It's just a continuation of how they've always been. And then also Fizz's, like, disability, it's not painted as, like, a weakness, but it's also not this, like, extraordinary thing. Like, you know, he kind of sucks at a lot of things in this episode. He's average at others, good at, you know, like, there's a lot of disability stories where it's, like, I'm disabled, but I'm defying the odds, doing this amazing thing, and, like, that's great for those people, but that's just not the reality for everyone, and that's fine. You're still just as much of a person if you're just a person.
Yeah, no, you're 100% right, and I think, too, they balance that line with Fizz really well. I think disability rep is one of the best things they do in this show, which is really interesting because that is not one of the huge main themes. Yeah. Like with Fizz now, this season a little bit it is, but if we think about the show as a whole, you know, like, that's not one of the main themes. Yeah. But another thing they do with Fizz is they have the trope of, like, really futuristic tech. In the fact of, like, his prosthetics. And, like, you know, like, they're obviously very different from prosthetics that exist in the real world. They stretch and they're, you know, but it's also fictional. But the fact that happens, but then also, like, there's certain, we have to be real. Is that why you were looking at me? We are being real on the podcast. But anyway, the fact that there's skills that he's really good with his mobility aids, like performing, but then things like fighting that, like, you know, require agility and stuff. With his mobility aids, he's not good at. So it's also not like the aid and the tech that he uses for his disability that is futuristic is a magic fix. That's a big trope. Yeah. And I really like that it's not as well. Yeah. Yeah.
Hard pivot. You're still on that horse thing?
Yeah.
What? That horse thing. What does Fizz think the horse thing is?
Yeah, because it's interesting because, like, the horse thing could just be the special interest that he loves horses, which has been a callback in this episode. It's going to be called back in a few shots in this episode again. Yeah. We've seen it throughout the entire thing. Yeah. Baby's first special interest, baby's still biggest special interest. Yeah. That could be all it is. Yeah. But also, the fact that one striker's like, I'm going to break you like a horse... Yeah. And he's like, oh, don't talk dirty to me. Yeah. So it's in a sexual context in this scene. And then that horse thing.
Yeah. Like, what?
Is weird wording.
What is it?
Yeah. And also, like, is this... does Fizz... If it is a sexual thing, which wouldn't surprise me. Yeah. Especially we've seen his porn. Yeah. How would Fizz know? Yeah. Like, did teenage Blitz, like, confess it to him? He, like, saw something online and he was like, Fizz?
Yeah. No, Fizz is, like, you know, they're, like, having, like, a little, I was gonna say sleepover. They live in the circus together, to our knowledge, but, like, they're having, like, a little, you know, sleepover one night, when they're, like, teenagers, and Fizz is, like, I've got a crush on this guy, and blah, 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 starts talking about more, like, romancy sexual stuff, and Blitz is like, I have to confess something too, and then just like, about his like horse kink or whatever, and Fizz is just staring at him like, oh yeah,
we work with horses.
Yeah. Blitz is so offended. He's like, ew, those are my best friends. I think it's really funny if it's both. Like he just really, in the most innocent way, loves horses, but also has some weird sex thing.
Yeah, no, he loves, like...
I don't want to shame him. He's
loves,
valid.
He loves the sex thing when, like, it's roleplay with, like, not horses, but as soon as someone's like, you like fucking horses? He's like, no! Yeah. Like, he's appalled. He's like, that's crazy.
I think Fizz is just a brony. Not Fizz, Blitz.
I was like, how did we get there?
I think Blitz is just a brony.
He does watch little horse shows.
Yeah, he's a Rainbow Dash stan. I don't know. He's a fascinating character, for
sure. So Blitz is a brony, right?
Yeah.
Imagine you're Luna, and you get adopted by this young adult brony at 17 years old.
No wonder she's so fucking pissed off at him all the time.
Anyway.
Could never take him seriously if that was my adopted dad.
No.
Sorry, we're not shaming.
Yeah, but that would be crazy.
No, it's just funny.
Yeah.
Anyway.
But Blitz this is an interesting part. Blitz very willingly is like, hey, do you remember how you used to distract my dad when they're cornered?
Yeah.
And like, sure, they're cornered, so maybe he was just trying to act fast. But he's not like he asked for help, he asked for a distraction from Fizz, which again is not, I don't think we've seen him do that really with any of the partners, like with Millie and Moxie. Maybe Millie.
Yeah.
Like, tell her to kill someone.
Yeah. It's like, it's always a thing, even like with IMP. Like, whenever he like passes control to Moxie or something, Moxie's like, I get to do it!
Yeah.
So it's like, and that's part of him just like being a dick to Moxie and not trusting him to do shit. But like, he also, Homeboy never asks for help. And then this is just, I think this really just shows that this is someone that, despite it being 15 years and despite literally exploding him, like, this is a person that he trusts and he knows trusts him too, despite everything, and it's really sweet.
It's really sweet, and it's really good and well written.
Yeah.
And I think also, like, this must have been their dynamic before, because they just fall right back into it, which is so interesting because, you know, like, people in real life, there's dynamics like that, and so, like, this is, I don't know, it's very true, and I like it.
I like it a lot. And then, of course, the distraction that Fizz comes up with, which, is this what he was doing when Blitz was stealing his dad's booze? Because what Fizz does now is a dramatic gay-ass musical performance with lighting somehow?
Yeah, and ends in a drag show?
Yeah. So, like, was he, like, doing this for cash bucks while Blitz was stealing alcohol from him?
I want to think so, but I feel like realistically it's whatever he did in the circus. He'd be like, I learned a new trick, and Cash would be like, oh, my good son.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah. My only son.
Yeah.
Fizzarelli.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But yeah, and the fact that he used to perform so that Blitz could steal his dad's booze is so loaded.
Yeah.
Because, like, was it just in, like, the fun, I have younger viewers or listeners, so I feel like I need to say this, not responsible, teenage way, or was it in the, you know, fueling their addiction, starting their addiction and their addictive behaviors?
Yeah.
Like, especially Blitz and Barbie. I need to know if Fizz ever had substance abuse issues, because, like,
we haven't seen anything hinting at it. If we have, other than, you know, child star generally, but, like, we haven't seen anything that seems to imply it directly.
No, I don't think we've seen Fizz with substances at all.
Yeah.
But, like, it's right there.
Yeah.
Like, I need to know. But
but going back up a little bit though. No, you're good. First of all, the way that this whole performance works on this mafia group, that's what makes me think, like, maybe he was doing this on Cash Box.
Yeah.
Because there's no reason why this should be working right now.
Yeah.
So I feel like it's very possible he did this to Cash Boxo back in the day.
Yeah.
But then also, this part that drives me fucking crazy, that we used to see, like, in the Season 2 Part 1 trailer.
Yeah.
Plug in your laptop.
I'm going. I'm gonna pause the podcast.
Okay. We'll be back in one moment.
We're back.
It's been 1 moment and we are back. But yeah, so we used to see this moment where Fizz, like, pulls Blitz in this, like, romantic, sensual context. We saw this back in the Part 1 Season 2 trailer before this episode came out.
I don't even know that it was a trailer. It was like a sketch.
Oh, right.
I think from a con.
Yeah, I think it was part of a larger trailer for the season. It just wasn't all finished.
Yeah.
But yeah, point being, this is a moment that has been in my brain for a very long time and drives me crazy because, like, there's so clearly this romantic tension between them from their youth that is still here today to some extent.
Yeah.
And I just want to know where they're going with it.
Yeah, I think it is interesting. It is baiting for sure from the...
No, I don't think so.
You don't think it's baiting?
Well, finish your sentence.
From the, like, to put that in the season 2 part 1 trailer when it doesn't actually end up being anything in this season, or at least in the first part.
I maybe to an extent, but, like, and if it ends up never turning into anything, then yes, definitely. Yeah. But, like, I think most of the reason why it's in that trailer is, like, because it's a significant moment.
Yeah.
And so I don't think it's baiting necessarily if it eventually leads somewhere.
Yeah, that's true.
And I think it will. If it doesn't, that's insane.
Yeah. I think it probably will, even if it's like they have a conversation about it and decide not to. Like, I think it will go somewhere.
Yeah.
But
I'm just so fascinated by their whole thing.
And this dip thing here,
just
for context, he, like, spins him around, holds him, and then dips him. And Blitz looks like he's biting his lip, like, looking all sensual.
Yeah.
Which I think could be two things. It could be... Well, obviously we know he has feelings for him, because he has to make out later. Yeah. But, like, it could be that. But then it also could just be part of the performance.
Yeah.
And, like, the fact that Blitz was a performer and, like, you know, still has that juice in him. But, yeah, I think...
Yeah, I think
there's something there generally. I just don't know if this scene points to it.
Because then the end of this, like, this dip, Fizz then just steals Blitz's keys.
Yeah.
From, like, that's how he pulls out of the dip. Sort of implying that that's the only reason he did it. Like, other than it being part of the performance at large, he, like, then takes Blitz's keys.
With the little gold horse keychain.
With the little gold horse keychain. And I think, I don't know, yeah, I don't have any more coherent thoughts on it. It just makes me crazy.
Real.
Yeah, Fizz also still calls Blitz Blitzo.
Yep.
Which doesn't know it yet, or hasn't internalized it yet.
Because this is earlier in this episode is the only other time he says his name, and that's when they're outside.
Yeah.
So...
And that's after that Blitz says, the O is silent now, bitch, or something. Right?
Yeah.
So
I don't think he's internalized it. I think it's also, like, you know, they're kind of back in this dynamic that they were as kids, and, you know, that's what his name was as a kid.
Yeah.
So it's kind of just, like...
Yeah. After this episode, we only hear Fizz call him Blitz.
Yeah. And he, like, panics, too, at this moment, so I think that's why he's just... Blitzo, hurry the fuck up!
Yeah.
is the line.
Yeah. I also think it'd be funny if, like, we still don't know really why Blitz dropped the O, if there was a specific reason for it other than just leaving the circus. But I think I could see it being a thing where, like, Fizz is the only one allowed to call him Blitzo nowadays.
Yeah, no, that's so real. I would love to see that.
Like when you're trans and, like, you know, you use he, him pronouns, but then you have, like, other trans friends and you're like, you can she, her, me.
Yeah, that's okay. I know you're doing it with love.
Yeah.
That would be really interesting. Also, I think, and this is jumping ahead, but it's not in the notes. Yeah. I think it is really interesting at the end of the episode, Ozzy says, that guy you hate, when referring to Blitz, and neither of them say his name.
Yeah.
Like, Fizz knows exactly who it is that he's talking about, and there's no name thing, and, like, I think that's probably intentional, so that there doesn't have to be like, oh, he goes by Blitz now, you know?
Yeah.
But, yeah.
Oh, pronouns still the same?
Says Ozzy, yeah.
Yeah, I think I could also see it being a thing where, like, you know, Ozzy knows how much Fizz hates Blitz, so they kind of have, like, a rule of, like, not to say him by name in the house. It's like, so, that guy you hate, wink, wink. Like,
only really talk about him. Yeah. No, that's really interesting. I'll pivot.
Yeah.
How they actually eventually, like, because Blitz is really struggling to get out with his plan that he needed 60 seconds for.
Yeah.
But how they actually get out is Blitz uses dynamite.
Yeah.
Which is different than fireworks, but really similar.
Really similar. Yeah.
And they're in a box the same way that the fireworks were. Like, I think it is definitely meant to be a parallel. Yeah. So, like, the thing that hurt both of them the last time they saw each other is what now frees them.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I have to sneeze again. I'm trying to keep it down.
Do you want me to pause the podcast?
No. Okay. We die like men. Yeah, and then we get a little bit of Blitz and Fizz laughing together, and then, like, Fizz compliments Blitz's, like, escape and fighting.
Yeah, he says, you're really good at this hero action bullshit.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And surely Blitz is like over the moon at any amount of praise ever. So
especially from
Fizz. Yeah. And then, whoopsie daisy, Stryker comes back looking feral as fuck. Yipes!
Yeah, no, his hair is like everywhere. Yeah. His eyes are glowing.
Yeah.
He's got like, I don't remember if it's snot or blood, but something dripping from his nose. His clothes are all torn up.
Yeah.
His eyes are also like darting. Like he looks legitimately fucking feral.
Yeah.
It's terrifying.
Yeah. The next time we see him in the show is gonna be crazy.
He's coming for blood and nothing else. Yeah.
Then we also get the why is it always a sex thing by Ace Stryker. We talked about that last episode. It's a very funny concept.
Yeah, but the line where Fizz says, "Is it bad that I'm getting hard right now?"
Yeah.
And he goes, "What the fuck?" Or no, he said, "Shut the fuck up."
Shut the fuck up.
But not even like that.
No, that's Western.
Shut the fuck up. Yeah. Why is it always a sex thing? He's so upset. The captions are in all caps.
Yeah. And then Blitz looks around, shoots the gasoline. Resourceful motherfucker.
Yeah, does end up hurting Fizz again.
Yeah.
But it is resourceful because, like, he can't shoot Stryker because Fizz is, at gunpoint, etc.
And then we get... I'm not even gonna...
Fizz!
When this episode... There were a lot of moments in this episode when it first dropped where we, like, lost our... I mean, the whole time we were losing our minds. But this, like... When Blitz and Fizz first run into each other, and then when we see, like, Stryker and Crimson, and then this fucking moment...
This moment, we paused and, like, grabbed each other, and then went back, and then did the same thing. Yeah. Like, we were fucking dumbfounded.
This was, like, we kept watching this over and over. The delivery is it's fucking good.
This is still something... a little background on me and Audie, a little insight to our personalities and our dynamic. Mm-hmm. We will show each other screen shots of... things to make each other upset pieces of media that we like, and this is one that still sometimes circulates because it's one of those ones where we have the caption on it so you can see it says like Fizz. You can like hear
you can hear it, pictures you can hear,
and so every now and again I have it on in my camera roll, and every now and again I'm like, Audie,
I thought you were gonna say something else. I thought you were gonna drop a massive lore dump.
No, I got that vibe. I would not do that on the podcast without your permission.
Because this episode was like a week before that?
Yeah. Anyway. They don't know what we're talking about, so
that's... I really thought that's where you're going. I was like, okay.
Now you've said it, they're gonna be so suspicious.
I know.
But anyway.
Yeah, that was a week before we killed someone. Anyway.
Show is more close to heart than you thought.
When you're good at something, you should probably capitalize.
Yeah. I meant to make a note about that line and how it related to this episode, and then I didn't. So we should talk about that. But getting back to our notes. Blitz does fucking circus acrobats to get to Fizz, and it's really similar to what he does to hold his hand in the circus.
It's such a fucked up parallel. Yeah. It's so good. It's so fucked.
It's like the exact trapeze swing. Yeah. I think everything else is a little different, but...
Yeah. Ready, Blitzo? Ready. Fucking kills myself.
Shit. Fuck. God. But yeah, his time in the circus, being a protector, we've already talked about, but then also, like, actually doing circus arts does help him. And I think that's always true. Mm-hmm. Like, the agility and shit is always there and always helping him, and that's how he got that. But this really solidifies that. Like, he can still do this shit. Mm-hmm. And it's because he does the same skills every day at work. Yeah, and I think something we never, or not us specifically, but that, people don't really talk about, because, like, we see Blitz's, like, absolute fail of a balloon animal show, and, like, generally get the impression that Fizz is superior to him in the circus, but, like, they're equally competent at that trapeze act. Bullshit. Yeah, that's the thing, is, like, maybe he just was bad at fucking, balloon animals. Maybe he has bad grasp, because he's autistic. I was gonna say, he's just autistic. And then bad mirroring skills, because he's autistic. Yeah. A lot of times, too, like, there's the, regardless of if he's autistic or if he's, not regardless of autistic, if he's autistic and ADHD, there's a lot of, I should not get into heavy neurodivergence lore right now, but I'm going to, with ADHD, there's a lot of times where, like, certain motor skills, like, handheld things are hard, but there's that hyperactivity aspect, and you can gain anything to, even if it needs coordination and all that, quickly. Mm-hmm. That could be Blitz.
Yeah. You blew me up again, you fucking prick!
Hard pivot.
I did, but this time I stuck around. Like, very heartwarming, but such a funny response.
Yeah.
You blew me up again. I did.
Yeah. And also, like, the way that this is written, like, I understand it. It's very sweet. It's very conclusive. It's great. Yeah. But I, as a writer, every time I watch this, I'm like...
It's a little silly.
Yeah, it's so corny.
Yeah.
And, like, this show doesn't usually grab for the corny, so every time I'm like, ugh.
Yeah, I like it for the most part.
Yeah, it's just... I'm not a fan of a corny line, but it is sweet and I like it. Yeah. And then it is very much caveated with the would it kill the mood right now if we made out?
Yeah. And then Fizz like wraps his arms twice around Blitz.
Yeah,
and, like,
it's around
tightest hug.
It's around Blitz and then around him and then around Blitz again.
Yeah. Does he hug everyone like that, or did he just want to hug Blitz like that in this moment?
Yeah.
Did he know that Blitz needed that good of a hug?
Yeah.
Because who knows the last time Blitz got a hug?
Never.
And then, would it fuck up the moment if we made out right now? Yes. I mean, it fucks it up for you to say it.
Yeah.
I feel like, to actually, but...
I mean, if he just kissed it.
Yeah, a little smidge.
No, I don't think you should, without consent, kiss your best friend that you haven't seen in 15 years that you also blew up.
Yeah,
maybe, twice. Maybe not the best.
Yeah, no.
But it might hit into something in the future.
Yeah. Anyway, back to the other faggots.
Yeah. Which we haven't talked about this entire episode. There was a few things with them, but I didn't... We had so much to get through that I didn't...
We're almost done, guys. Bear with us. Ozzy's about to kill that lawyer guy, and then sees Fizz walk in and goes, Fizzy!
And he literally does the gay hands. Yeah, he does the T-Rex hands.
The limperest, yeah. Fizzy!
And then Ozzy! And then their music plays. I forgot to note that. Yeah. And they spin around.
The captions say canoodling noises.
Yeah. The captions, I don't love that they do... This was fine because,
Yeah. It kind of is. It
kind of is. I think that a lot of the things they do in the captions are entirely inaccessible. Yes. And I feel like I need to say that every time.
1,000%.
But I have been noting them because a lot of them are funny. And this one, honestly, I don't think any of the ones that I noted are inaccessible. There's one at the end, but there's nothing happening that needs captions when it's said. And I think that's how it should be done. But I'll get to that. Sorry. Yeah. I just noticed that.
Yeah. Stolas says, "Get fucked, little one," about the little lawyer dude.
And he's so serious.
It's such a weird delivery.
Yeah, it's a weird delivery, and I think it's also a weird line.
Yeah.
Because I don't like it, writing-wise. I think it's and I know it's not to be like, this one line is a horrible fucking writing choice.
It's weird,
It's
weird.
It
doesn't really work.
Yeah, because Stolas, I mean, he's intense near the beginning, but then when he's reading these contracts, like the whole scene where he's in this office, he's really passive and calm. So to have that is really weird and interesting. I think the only thing that it would work is a nod towards his class divide, maybe. Like if like
I think he didn't have to say anything, like, because I think his expression is really good here. Like, I feel like we see everything he thinks on his face. Yeah, I don't think he needed a line, and this line just kind of reads stupidly.
Yeah, it's a bad line. It doesn't really fit his character.
Yeah,
like, I haven't heard Stolas say "get fucked" a single time.
It feels like an incorrect quote.
Yeah.
It's stupid.
And also, you're right. He like stands up, and then he doesn't say this until he's out in the doorframe.
Yeah.
So it's like to himself.
Yeah, I think it's meant to be like he sees this happy reunion between Fizz and Ozzy, and he's sort of like a victorious, like, happy to see them happy, and it's like, get fucked, you little guy. But it just doesn't work.
Yeah, every time we get to it, I'm like, ugh. Yeah. It doesn't work.
Yeah. Then we get into the overprotective Ozziness, which we've already touched on a lot, but he says, "You ain't never leaving the palace without protection again," and then sort of says, like, you won't have to go outside again.
Yeah, Fizz kind of says, good news, I don't want to ever go outside again, like, kind of as a joke, but also I feel like a little bit as, like, a kind of trying to tame the waters, like, you know, oh, I know you're scared and you're worried for me. Yeah. I don't want to go outside again.
Yeah.
And then he says, you won't have to.
And then Fizz's smile fades.
Yeah, like, completely.
Yeah.
And then right before that, Ozzy's like kissing up on Fizz, and Fizz says, "Ozzy, there's eyes around," and Ozzy says, "I know and I don't care because they all know that if they say something, I'll break them," and punches the dick off of a statue, and all the servants run away.
Yeah. Which this whole thing gets resolved, sort of,
in the next episode. Again, setting things up, resolving them.
Yeah.
You're doing really good. Great. Keep fucking doing that.
Yeah. 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 But it is complicated.
Yeah, it's like, okay, I'm okay with it because I will kill these people if they tell anyone. Is not comforting. No. For your boyfriend to say.
No, and like now they're like public, but we've yet to see the results of that. So we'll see. Fizz apologizes for getting hurt.
Yeah, he says, "I'm sorry I got a little messy," which is loaded.
Is an insane thing to say.
Yeah, because one, don't apologize for getting held hostage and hurt.
Yeah.
Two,
really minimizing it.
Got a little messy. Hello?
Yeah. Hello? Yeah. But then Ozzy knows exactly how to fix Fizz's arm. Like, he has at least one extra prosthetic lying around.
Yeah, he just casually pulls it out, puts it on the table, like...
Potentially he makes them? Or
we've theorized about that. The build and, like, the designs on them, first of all, they're hearts.
Yeah.
Which kind of lends to it being Ozzy, but also just lends to it being Fizz. But they're definitely custom-made prosthetics, if anything, which is interesting and cool.
Yeah.
But the build of them and the design of them is kind of similar to other things you've seen that Ozzy made.
Yeah. And then going back to what we were talking about earlier with how Fizz definitely doesn't have some sort of trauma response to weapons being held close to him, Ozzy literally takes a pair of scissors to cut his sleeve and Fizz, like, flinches at it, which I don't think it's because he thinks Ozzy will hurt him or anything. But, like, where does this specific fear come from? You know, I wonder if...
And it could be medical trauma.
It could be. That's true, yeah.
Especially with, like, getting a prosthetic changed, and then, like, Blitz is, like, it is definitely a parallel, but also, like, that is kind of a different situation.
Yeah.
But I think it is worth noting, too, Fizz's reaction to Blitz with the knife is he, like, screams.
Yeah.
But this one, he just kind of, like, tenses up and closes his eyes. Yeah. So I think if it is medical trauma, first of all, really good rep if they go more into it.
Yeah.
Second of all, very likely.
Yeah.
But also, it could be that he has the trauma from somewhere else and he trusts Ozzy.
Mm-hmm.
So he's like, I'm scared of this, but I know Ozzy isn't going to hurt me.
Yeah. Yeah, and then again, more into Fizz minimizing his own issues. Yeah. He says, I bounce back fast, which is, like, it same boat. If it just feels like he's like, I'll be fine, I'm fine.
And that's probably not probably, that is 100% what he's done his whole life because we see his little panic attack in the next episode.
Yeah.
The "you have to be fine" line that still sits with me so deep in my fucking body. Anyway.
Yeah.
But, yeah, the way that they deliver this, too, is that, I always bounce back fast, and then he, like, kind of, like, rocks and, like, rocks too hard and then, like, seems all flustered.
Yeah.
Is really interesting because it's a bit and, like, a bit of a gag, but at the same time, it kind of shows, like, he's saying something that isn't actually true. Yeah. I think it's done well. Yeah. It's funny, but it's also...
Yeah, I think so.
Yeah.
Yeah. And then, ironically enough, Fizz is the reason why Stolas ends up getting the Osmodian crystal that he gives to Blitz in a few episodes from now.
Yeah.
And we know how that worked out.
Yeah, so that's fun.
I'm sure that'll be fun for Blitz and Fizz to talk about once that realization happens.
Especially because Blitz also got the giant sex toy from him before. So Fizz is gonna be like, "Hey, how'd that that was a new one. Like, how did that go?" And he's like,
No, I think Blitz, like, if and when Blitz finds out that Fizz is the reason why Stolas got that crystal, it's either gonna, like, spark an argument where Blitz, like, holds it against him, or it's gonna be a moment of revelation where Fizz is like, oh no, dude, Ozzy said that he was, like, he really had strong feelings for you and he was trying to do this nice thing, and Blitz is like, but,
no, he didn't.
I gotta go.
The way that Blitz said, "Who said that?"
Who said that in Apology Tour? Yeah.
I feel like that would happen with Fizz too. Yeah. I like that he canonically said, "Who said that?" And then going into the captions, first of all, Blitz spelled with an X over the O.
Yeah, in the credits.
Yeah, which is just something that we've been noting. Yeah. But also the captions, right when the end screen, like with the logo comes up, so there's no actual action or speech, so no need for subtitles at this point. There is a subtitle, well placed is what I'm saying, that says, by the way, don't worry, the Quevies all made it home safe and sound with a heart, which is something we noted in the last episode, so they are safe.
On the caption thing, I think it's well placed by comparison, but still should not be done, because if you're someone who like absolutely needs captions, you don't know that nothing's being said.
That's true.
So I feel like I think notes should stay out of captions. Like, that is the rule for captioning. That personal and like notes and stuff should stay out 100%.
Yeah.
So not ideal, but
I agree.
By comparison,
I think by comparison, like if they're, I don't think they should, but if they're going to do it, it should be more like this.
Yeah.
And also, it doesn't need to be in the captions. I get that the person that does the captions is probably the one who thinks of these things, and so that's why they're in the captions. But like that could have been on that end of like on the end screen.
Yeah.
On text.
And like if the person who's doing the captions, if that's their job, they should know better than to like. Yeah. Like if it's not in the show, you can't just choose to put it in the captions. Like, it's not your place to do that. It is your place to provide accessible content. Yes. Not to give your own little additional notes. Yeah. As funny or as sweet as they might be.
And I think there are certain things, like when there sounds calling it canoodling noises as opposed to something else is fine, because that gets the point across, and it's also funny. Yeah. But, I think, especially we saw in Unhappy Campers, there was a lot of that kind of stuff, where it was like, that's not what should be happening.
And also, like, the fact that it's not specified that it's a note at all. Yeah. Like, it shouldn't be done, but if you are gonna, like, there's no, like, captioner's note, or there's nothing like that. It's just, But anyway, that's all we have.
That is all we have.
We got through it. How long have we been recording?
Hour 16.
Oh, that's not bad.
No, it's not.
Oh, phew. Wonderful. I was worried.
Yeah.
Cool.
We just have closing notes. Do you want to vamp on them?
Yeah. Follow the Instagram, as usual, at AA Discussions, and on that Instagram page in our bio, you will see a link to our Linktree, which has links to all of our fun stuff, including our newsletter. We send an email out on the 1st of every month. That is all you will ever hear from us.
Sometimes we forget, too.
Sometimes we forgot for the month of August, so that was fun.
So maybe less than once a month.
Yeah, but just, little updates on our personal lives, on the podcast, our plans for the future, and, like, a recap of the previous month in case you missed anything.
Yeah, brand updates, merch and everything, all in the newsletter.
Yeah, so, like, the Instagram, like, is, like, if you want, like, all of the important info on our podcast, like, follow the Instagram, but if you're, like, one of our super fans, you want to know more about, like, our general plans and us as people, the newsletter is a good place for that. And also, you might get some, like, exclusive info before other people do. Yes. So that's cool.
Especially, I don't know exactly when or if at this point we will launch kind of like that bonus content and stuff, but you guys will all hear first in the newsletter if we launch bonus content on Ko-fi or anything like that.
Yeah. On that note, on our YouTube channel, which also has all of our episodes now, our YouTube is just AA Discussions, and there's also a behind-the-scenes video on there that we worked really hard on, and it's really cool, I think. So you should watch that if you want.
Just for a little note on what happens in that video, we go through the whole process. We show you how you upload onto Spotify and Podcasters and things. If you were interested in your own podcast or anything, it's great to watch. And then also you just get to see us being silly and doing our mic checks and everything. I think it's really fun.
Yeah. That's the YouTube. That's also on our Linktree. And again, Instagram, at AA Discussions, where you can also message us with any of your thoughts and theories. Comment feature on Spotify is working again, so you can also comment on there or on the YouTube videos. Yeah. So many places to send us your thoughts. Yeah. And interact with us.
And we love comments on everything, but we prefer that the comments on Spotify for podcasters stay to the comment question, because they're all under a certain question. And I feel like we should say, just because we've gotten quite a few comments being like, do this episode next. We do the episodes in order. Yeah. And that is what we're going to continue doing.
In order of, like, show order.
Yeah, so, like, we got a bunch of, not a bunch, but, like, 3 or 4, like, a significant amount of comments being like, hey, release Apology Tour when it comes out, like, analyze it. That's not what we do. We do it in order. Yeah. And so the only time that would happen is if we were all caught up.
Yes, which we were trying to do.
Yes, we were trying to do. But just so you know, that's the order, so you don't have to keep commenting. Like, I know people are probably commenting and asking it because they might not know if you just joined. Yeah. So, yeah, that is what we do. Yeah. And that is what we're going to continue doing until we're caught up. Yeah. Okay, that was more tangential than I thought it was going to be. Yeah. But yeah, anything else?
You know the drill. stay sexy.